Hello, and welcome to Magic is Real, a podcast focused on exploring the fascinating world of near-death experiences, communication with spirit, and all things metaphysical and spiritual. The mission of this project is to share messages of hope and inspiration with others, and to spread the word that death is only an illusion. Thank you for being here with an open heart and mind. I wish you peace, light, and love always. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Magic is Real. I'm Shannon Torrance. I'm just a person. I'm a medium. I interview people that have had extraordinary spiritual experiences, and I'm obsessed with all things metaphysical, spiritual, and that's why we're here. So today I have my friend Malcolm Nair with us. I will say who you are, but first I just want to say hello, Malcolm, and thank you for being here.
Hello, Shannon. Thank you very much for bringing me on your platform once again. This is exciting. Yeah.
Yes. So I had Malcolm on the show because he is a near-death experiencer. However, and also, Malcolm is now a what do you call yourself? A what coach?
Well, I help people get to the steps of enlightenment. So, I'm enlightenment coach, but it's coaching, enlightenment coaching, because I'm putting them through the steps of mental clarity, releasing blockages, understanding their why, their reason, their purpose, compassion, love. There's so many exercises and methods. So that's why I call it, you don't have to die to realize, to self-realize. You don't have to get enlightened at that period of time where it's the end, or gurus and shamans and stuff, they reach enlightenment through their practices and stuff. But there's a faster way. I mean, there's a way faster way for you to reach these enlightenment moments and to attract and manifest and release blockages, because I've done it all for myself, especially with my background, my childhood, what I've gone through, so much trauma, and adversity. So that's what I want to teach people and show them and guide them.
Yes, and actually that's where I wanted to start. If you want to see his interview, it's up here. He has a really interesting story, but I would love to know how specifically you got into this particular line of work. I know you just said that you had done it in your own life. I know that your near-death experience put you on a spiritual path. So I'd love to know kind of at what point did you decide that this particular area, I know it's broad, but it's also but it isn't at the same time, because it's helping people reach their potential, get rid of blocks, manifest, live their best life, whatever. But what was it that drew you specifically to this work?
It's funny. I mean, it's not funny. It could come across weird for other people, because a lot of people decide and make choices and shift their life around because of what their purpose is or what they're good at. And they decide that they use their mindset and they're like, this is my purpose. I'm so good at this. This is what I love. But it didn't work out that way for me. I had a calling. So I had a calling. I started having these wake up calls, these insights and these dwellings come to me from the work that I was doing for my inner healing and cleansing and stuff. So I'd get these whispers, and I was slowly losing my drive, my passion, because I've always been a coach. I've always been a mentor. I've always inspired and led teams and grown teams and in sales industries, coaching industries. And for some reason, I was losing my passion. No matter how successful I was in the industry, the dwelling that was coming to me, I was feeling compelled to stop. And I love doing in-home consultations and being a leader and a coach and inspired. They looked at me as a coach, and I didn't sell them. They just would be sitting down and they would say, oh shoot, honey, go grab the visa. And they'd just pay the thousands of dollars without even thinking or second guessing, and pack me food and stuff. And I was losing passion for that. I was losing passion for service to others for another company, within another company. And something inside me kept saying, giving me details. I was getting instructions, like blueprints of, you could do this, but for yourself. You could I was getting these wake up calls. It's common sense now to think of this as a mature person, be like, yeah, that's obvious. So you want to be an entrepreneur, woo, right? But it was deeper than that. It was like I was getting these talks because I've never had guidance in my life. I've never had a structure in my life. I never knew about like how to leave the 9 to 5 world. It was the first time for everything for me to just up and leave and leave all that money that I was making, close to $10,000 every month. Like, who would want to leave consistency? I was doing that consistently, right? And I decided to leave. And my wife was pregnant and she supported me. She said, how are we going to do this? And I'm like, and on top of it, I stressed my family out by saying, I had a newborn coming. I had a little baby. He was like 2, 3 years old. And she was constantly drinking milk. Like my family liked milk and bread and food. And I got another calling in the midst of getting into this business, was to stop eating outside food. Like, stop, literally don't go to the grocery store and buy bread from there. Don't buy groceries from there, box foods. Don't buy meat from there. Don't eat the food industry food. And I was like going through this process, and it was crazy. So I piled that on her. So I was getting these conscious callings. They were coming to me, and each thing were synchronicities. They're all adding up and lining up together. And then I'm like, what am I meant to do? And I'm just like sitting there on my couch and I'm like, what's going on? Like, I left my work. Now I'm sitting here on my butt. I don't even have a proper computer. And, I don't, like, what do I do? Why was I set up to do this? I left my job and now I'm stressing on my family. Like, you can't eat milk. You can't drink this. You can't eat that. You can't. And it was like a must. But I said, just trust the process, because I just trust the process. And I'm like, just this is the voice, right? Like, and I'm like, what am I meant to do? Tell me, what is this? Right. And I got a whisper, and my whispers are louder now, where before in the past, or for people listening to this, they won't take it like the way I'm saying it, right? So you have to do the process. I do a guided intelligence whole method to get closer to these wake up calls. So my wake up calls were already close, we're already there. So the whisper came to me and said, guided intelligence. And I said, say it again. So I'm connected to my source. So it's able to repeat things for me, right? So it said it again, louder. It's a guided intelligence. And I said, guided, like I knew what it said. I'm like, guided intelligence. Like I'm like, okay, fine. And I get up and I go to my computer and I write it down and I make it on my email as my Gmail name. And I do it as my YouTube channel thing. I don't even know if I had a YouTube, but I had a YouTube account, right? Everyone has a YouTube account. They sign in, right? And I made it there and I didn't know what it was. I honestly did not know what it was. Um, and then through slowly transitioning and changing and doing the work and shifting and changing and shifting and changing and growing my mindset, the food research and studying for 10 years more in my life, and then taking the 20 plus years of experience I have in life and traumas, and I took it all and I put it together, and I'm like, wow, this can really serve somebody. This changed my life. I could change somebody's life. And it was like, yes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I didn't ask how or why or when. I just said, I leave that up to you. And I went and I just slowly started doing things. I started like taking my poems out of my mind, all my writings, all my wisdom, all my teachings, my story. I talked about homelessness. I talked about drug addiction. I talked about alcohol. I talked about sex, talked about being raped, molested. And I had all these documents and I had thousands. And I'm like, now what? And I'm like, oh, don't worry. I leave that up to you, because you don't want to put control in the way, right? So then I'm like, ask for another compel compelling dwelling. So I call this in my practice command and demand. And I teach people how to do it so they don't have to go through my 20-year-long journey. But so I went and I commanded and I demanded. And I asked and I said, and I did my prayer to manifest. So this is about manifest. And I said, give me more. I'm ready. Tell me what I'm meant to do now. Like, what is the next thing? Just give it to me. I'm ready. Like, I'm going to listen, wake me up tomorrow morning, and I'm going to wake up with my mindset clear, and I'm going to do this, and let's go. And it was the beginning of COVID when this happened. Like a couple months before COVID, all this was happening, and way before COVID even came out, I was working on all of this. And then before COVID happened, I got this wake up call to publish a book. And it told me, so guided intelligence told me to wake up. And I said, okay, now what? Right? What do I do now? And so I was listening to the guidance and it said, write a book. And I'm like, write a book? Okay, I've never done this. I've never read a book in my life. You want me to write a book, let alone read a book? And so I said, what about? And it came to me right away, affirmations. And this whole vision and this all these views before my eyes, just like the experience when I died happened. It happens when I get all these visions and stuff of what to do, what the pictures are going to look like, what you're going to say, who you're going to hire, who's going to come and help you write the book, how you're going to publish. It all came to me. So I had the blueprint. So the blueprint came to me, and I woke up in the morning and I go downstairs like in flow state, literally shaking and shivering and like, I had to get a blanket. Like I was just in flow state, like one of those. I wasn't cold. I might have had an ice shower, but I don't think that was the effect, because usually my ice shower lasts 20 minutes and I get cold for another 20 minutes for the telomere growth and the mindset and the inflammation and stuff and all of the things I teach in my coaching. But so I was just in flow and I was running that book and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it in 6 hours. It took me 6 hours to finish Arnav's affirmations. The draft is in the center there. That's the first draft. But the one that I have is on Amazon. It's called Arnav's Affirmations. It's a children's self-help book. So if anybody wants to get that, it's a children's book. Read it to your children. It's amazing. It's $7.77. It's nothing, but but it's just a beautiful thing for children. And then I'm like, what's next? And then it told me the child inspire. So I wanted to inspire children because I wasn't inspired as a child, right? So I don't know how deep you want to go. I know you're just listening to me, but I need some guidance because I could just keep talking about nothing. But that's how it started. So that's how it started. I just trusted in the start and in the journey and in the process. And I had faith in that. And, everything happens for a reason. Like the world needs to know, but like people need to know that everything, like me and you talked about this, everything that just lines up and comes and stuff, it becomes something, and that's what it became, right? And that's how it all began. I could go deeper and I could talk for hours about like every little step in a whole other podcast, like just talking about this one episode or something. But let's get your guidance.
So that, I mean, I love all of what you said. It's so relevant right now. I was just talking to Brooke Grove today, who's another near-death experiencer, and we were having the same kind of, it feels like thematically there's a lot going on where we're all in this sort of similar energetic space. There's a lot of, I don't know if you feel it too, but it's this
Yeah, that's
energetic.
how I took you, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's her, and we're gonna do this.
Yep, it's interesting. Well, and that's why we're going to talk heavily about men. One of my favorite topics is manifestation. I'm a little bit obsessed with it. I literally watch videos all day long on it. Everyone has their own approach to it, beliefs about it. So I think we can start by uh, I'd love to I shared with you that for me, when I watch manifestation coaches and manifestation concepts and absorb that, it has given me a sense of so much empowerment and faith and trust. I don't even the past week, I was like, I'm not even worried about anything. I know I'm going to get what I want. Like it gets me to this really comfortable place of security and safety because I'm trusting in the universe more and more. But I would love to hear sort of for anyone who may not completely know about manifestation, I would love to hear your take on, what manifestation is.
There's so
I
much.
I know.
There's so much. But on that about being secure, you have to have a little bit of insecurity and security. So it's like this fine line between comfort and uncomfortability. It's like you need to know that you are enough, but you're worth more. You're always worth more. You can always raise your standards, and your standards will be met based on how the world perceives you, right? So if you portray yourself a certain way on this earth, then the earth will reciprocate that same energy and wavelength to you. But you got to feel like you're not enough sometimes. These coaches and gurus always say, oh, you're enough, you're enough. But then you're gonna be obese and sick every second week, like the normal flu comes around, and you're gonna keep eating what you eat with the mindset you have because you watched this podcast and you took those hypnosises and you feel like you're enough, right? But that's wrong. The way I teach it is you have to have a mind body spirit connection, and you got to elevate every aspect of your consciousness. So if everything is conscious and everything is vibrating, you got to vibrate everything higher. So if it's your mindset, you vibrate it higher. How can you do that? Look into biohacking, look into the science behind longevity, look into growth, like just there's growth in so many areas with the way you hear. There's people in the world that have hearing problems, and you can teach people how to do certain things to help fix their hearing. Just the same way I healed through all my diagnosis when I was hospitalized from my near-death experience. I manifested so many things just with that. So that's just mind, body, right? Spirit is a whole other spectrum, right? And then when you connect the dots, mind, body, spirit, and everything, you're just elevating, the things that happen, you can't believe. It's like you do believe it. It's like, wow, just doing the work. I knew that was possible, but it just happened. It just happened. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Wow. Right. So then you become a powerful manifester, like a knowing. But for manifestation, it's everything you're manifesting, good and evil, good and bad, negative and toxic, girlfriends, boyfriends, husband, wife, children. You can manifest children. I'm trying to convince my sister to understand the power of manifestation from the womb. You can manifest from the womb before conception. So you can put out a signal to source beforehand of what the manifest is going to be for your child. And I know I'm talking advanced, like very advanced stuff. You're cool with that?
That's what we're here for.
Okay, good.
My
Okay.
question I'm going to butt in with for that is well, tell this, but also just because I think it's an interesting thing. How do we know this, that our souls can do this? Or how do you know this? Maybe, that's something I'd love to know too. Not as a,
Every
yeah.
everything is energy. Everything is energy. What we want will come back to us in the form of reality, right? So everything that we believe, we feel, we do, we think, we're creating. We're creating from consciousness, right? So where did consciousness begin and end? It was always there. So if we can leverage into that concept and be like, you know, I'm creating quantum fields. So thought alone is a creation. You know, if you look into the ancient Hindu cultures, I don't know, a lot of people talk about the Brahmata, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but the ancient Hindu civilization, they talk about Shiva and Vishnu consciousness, death and birth, right, of consciousness. It's energy. You're breathing new realms of conscious states, right? So when I knew I was doing this, it was from negativity. It was from anxiety, depression, PTSD, OCD. I suffered from it all. That's why I can help people in these areas. And much more, like, headaches. I healed my migraine headaches, but I didn't know how to heal it until it was gone one day. And then I realized, now going back into that, so going back into an inner child to take the understanding and the comprehension, then I'm utilizing in today's day and age. And that's how I'm able to quantify the experiences for my children, to give them wisdom now, early on. But for example, we're manifesting, so I was attracting, when you say, okay, I was a smoker. I was addicted to smoking cigarettes. Let's just get into it. One day when I was in ninth grade, I was in high school and I was addicted to smoking. So I was nicking, I was feeding for a smoke. And I'm like, can I bum a butt off you? Can I bum a butt off you? Can I get a smoke off you? Can I get this off you? No, sorry, I'm out. No, sorry, I'm out. I had no change. Oh, $3, $2.50. The price went up on single cigarettes from bumming smokes back in the day. But so I knew I had consciousness. So if you have consciousness, I knew from an early age, then I knew what I wanted was going to come no matter what. It's like, you're going to try so hard to go on Marketplace or Garage Sale or on Kijiji or Craigslist to find an aquarium, a fish tank. You're so excited. You and your husband talk about it. You're like, yeah, this is what I want, honey. Okay, let's do it. Let's get it. Let's find it. Let's see if we can shop for it. And then you go and you take your energy. You're like, oh, look at this one. Nice. No, let's go in here. Let's go in Mayfair. And oh, this one's $60. Oh, this one's very nice. And your energy is all about getting it because you visualized it in your house. So like, we're going to have it right there. It's going to look so good. And you did all the work and you actually created it. You brought it into reality, whether you worked hard for it, you paid money for it, but you did that from consciousness, from a beginning and an end, right? So you just started it. So I took the next level and I'm like, how can I do the same thing without so much expense maybe or resources? So I did the same thing with an aquarium. I did the same thing with negativity. So with the cigarettes, I kept saying, I'm going to get it. I'm going to find it. I never gave up. Where there's a will, there's a way. So I kept kicking smoke packets on the floor. Each one was empty. And that kept happening, but I kept going with the belief and determination and ambition. And it was for negativity. Do you believe that? Right. So it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. Next thing you know, just my determination alone, and I just kicked a pack of smokes and I felt a little bit heavier. It was glossy, shiny with the plastic and all still on it. I lifted up and I attracted, I manifested a brand new pack of DeMaurier cigarettes, king size.
Yeah.
Just through negativity alone. And I did the same thing in negative realm when I was growing up as a kid, living on my own, just kind of paycheck to paycheck. And, I just manifested the next paycheck or to pay ends meet or groceries. Like, you're always constantly manifesting something when you truly dire need or desire something, right? So how do we desire something for a benefit, for a good cause, to serve people or to serve our higher good? So then, if you're manifesting little things like computers, TVs, aquariums, cars, how do you manifest people? How do you manifest wavelengths and frequencies? So you got to understand that, what the way to understand this is by basically knowing, how do I feel right now? How do I feel right now? Okay. So if I was like 5, 10 years ago and I asked myself that, I'm like, I feel like stressed, like shit. And I don't like my job and I need more money and I want to go hang out and all the things people would think. But we're talking to an amazing audience here. So let's raise the standard. And if our frequency, we ask, how do I feel right now? And we say, well, I feel great. I feel great. I feel good. I feel blessed. And I feel like I'm powerful, right? So you take that and be like, okay, where does that feel that you're at? And you can compare it to a guru, a shaman, a coach. You can compare it to, the birds. You can compare it to, a skyscraper that's so high and mighty. Wherever your vision takes you, right? So you say, okay, well, if what I said, ask myself is right here, how can I raise my vibration to somebody who's walking in that building right now? So I did this work and I'm like, okay, and I took have you done remote viewing? Do you do
Yes.
remote viewing? Okay,
Yes. It's so crazy.
so I tied remote viewing into this manifest, right?
Oh, can
So
you tell people, just mention what it is because some people might not know.
okay, so this is hundreds of years old. People in governments and agencies, especially for cases for finding Bin Laden, for example, they used scientists that studied and trained in remote viewing to pinpoint exactly where people were and stuff. Or you can use remote viewing. There's methods and stuff to view where you want to manifest. If you can visually see your home, the layout, you could see like where you're going to live, or what the garden outside looks like, an area, for example, where you're going to travel around the world. But it's usually in governments, not our government, not even the US government, but like underground governments, used in black op projects and stuff. And then also mediums and psychics and stuff know how to do it. I've been doing it and I came aware of knowing consciously that I was doing it. Just as I got older, I'm like, I'm doing it anyways. Why don't I name it? It's remote viewing. Like people do it all the time. So it's just taking your consciousness into other conscious views. So you could view places.
Yeah,
So
and I want you to finish the story. I just wanted to say that for me, it looks like when I'm doing a mediumship reading, sometimes I can go into their house. I can say, "Show me the house," and I'll start describing what's on the walls. And in one case, it was a long story. I'm making it short. I told you I said I see a Raggedy Ann doll when you walk in, and the woman walks me in there. Sure as shit, there is a Raggedy Ann doll sitting on and I'm
yeah,
like, how did I? And I told her what room it was in and what the room looked like. And she showed me with her camera. Everything I said was there. And that was when I realized this
exactly.
is so it's basically looking through walls. Not really, but you're taking your
Yeah, you
consciousness
are.
there.
When I was a sales coach and I was in the sales industry, like customer service, service provider, consultant, I would do this work before going to meet the client. So I would remote view and visually see a woman or a man opening the door beforehand, like while I'm walking to the door. And I'd visually see, I would smile, have a quick conversation, say, can I come inside? She brought me inside. And then I'd meet the husband, see the house, and then come out of it. And then be like, okay, let's go. I'm ready for my next sale. And then I would go to my next customer's house. And I've taught this to some sales clients and stuff of mine. But so then I'd go into the house. Sure enough, a beautiful woman would open the door, greet me, and say, "Yeah, come in." The husband would come down the stairs. So I was creating my reality how I wanted it to happen. If I had a feeling the husband was going to yell at me, sure enough, the husband didn't like me. But if I had a feeling and I viewed that the husband is going to have a feeling like, why am I alone with the wife? And then he came down and then he saw me, but he's happy. That happened all the time because a lot of men and women would invite me into their house and I would be alone with some of them half the time. And some truckers or, people would come home late night, but it's powerful with your energy. So long story short, I manifested by raising my vibration, raising my standard to believing, I'm going to work there. And I would put myself in that building and I would be like, this is the kind of building I want to work in. And I did this with getting other jobs too. And I can explain how to do the process of remote viewing the the office room after leaving an interview, and then the manager and owner is sitting there, and I said, no, you're gonna take so I kind of remotely operated something. I don't want to come off like I do some weird work, but
Yeah.
but I said, no, you're going to take my resume and you're going to put it on top, and then you're going to take it, read it, and smile and talk to them and choose me. And so I did that, and that's how I got certain jobs and stuff as well. Yeah.
It's so interesting. I want to go into the hows, how and the why, like how, but I also wanted to just share as you were speaking, it really made me recollect that I didn't even know what manifesting was in my 20s, whatever. Well, in my life, I didn't even have the perfect state of mind, quote unquote, perfect for manifesting, right? So this is so interesting to me that when I was like 11, I lived in Connecticut, grew up there. I had pictures of Hollywood all up on my wall. I had Universal Studios. So my dad took me for my 13th birthday to go to Universal Studios. We stayed in Studio City. We went to this Japanese restaurant there. We stayed in a certain area. I might have even been 11, whatever. I think it was 13. But so then cut to when I'm in college, my dad gets a job transfer to moved to California. Therefore, later, I ended up in California. And the funny thing is, I ended up, it's a whole long timeline, but I
Yeah.
ended up living in the very same neighborhood where my dad and I ate. I didn't even realize it till after I'd moved in.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's the restaurant that we haven't stopped talking about because it was so good, Teru Sushi in
Right.
Studio City. Then I get married and we're like, our lives feel boring now. So let's go out to a music club and see a show. And I saw my friend perform. He was a musician. And there are all these people in this music club hugging and going, hey, what's up? And my husband and I are sitting there with our hands in our laps, like, and I said, how do all these people know one another? He's like, because they're young and we're old now. And that's just, we don't have that. And I was like, but I want that. I miss that. I felt that so deeply in my soul. So then we get divorced. And my first week, I'm miserable, depressed, in addiction. And someone asks me, can you cover the door for me I meet this guy at Whole Foods. He said, can you cover the door for me at this music club? Because I can't work that night. And I'm just recently divorced. I go work the door. Then the door guy goes, you know what? I'm actually moving out of state. Would you want to take this job? I just got chills. That leads to me working the door, becoming the booker there, becoming like the booker for a bunch of music venues. And one day I walked into Hotel Cafe in LA. I'm getting such big chills. And I walked in and like, it was one of those nights where everybody there. And it was like 100 people, and one after the other was going, Shannon, 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 and hugging me. And
Yeah.
I started to actually cry because I remember saying, I manifested this,
Yeah.
but I didn't even know I was manifesting it. It was the
Right.
timeline of somehow I was meant to be in LA. I was meant to live this life. That job and that life, the people I met at that time, they were the most profound, important years of my life. And I
Yeah.
developed the most amazing community of friends, and we're all like family now. And that was I just know I manifested that, just saying, I
Right.
want that. That's for me. So
Right.
how
So,
does it work and why does it work?
yes. So people want to know, like, how do I not just enjoy this life and then just come to realize that every step of the way I look back and be like, I manifest this, I manifest this. How can we quantify this experience? How can we do it in real time? Right? Quantum jump, right? So how to do this? Okay, so you want to know how?
Like
Okay,
how and why? Why does it work and how do you do it?
okay. Well, there's many ways, right? So first, if you've raised your vibration, you've elevated a lot of aspects of your life, you will manifest good. Sometimes you'll manifest tests to see if you're worthy or deserving of the next level. Because if you are on the right journey, but you're trying so hard, you're putting control in the way, and you get to a certain point in life, say you got to that beach and you're like, oh, and I manifested it, but then something happened that wasn't, it was a test there. It wasn't ideal. Like we were speaking about this about relationships, right? Like someone, you know, that you're, it's not ideal, it's what you wanted, but then it wasn't ideal or
Yeah.
something around those lines. But so to avoid that, I'm just being transparent right now. Work on your mind, body, spirit connection. You know, research, work on your health. Your gut bacteria can influence. I have a video on my YouTube channel talking about feelings. So I have a video on feelings. So when you think you're feeling out of your heart, I would recommend you work on your heart first, because if your heart has been broken, tainted, you know, upside down or emotionally, you know, your heart is still not fully there, and you're saying, oh, I just feel good about that person. No, honey, like I have a good feeling. That could be screwing with manifest, right? Because it's not true. Sometimes it's not true. Your heart could be playing games with you, just like your gut bacteria is running the system, right? Your gut bacteria, if it's not taken care of and you can't decipher, hey, is that just my pancreas, my gut bacteria saying I'm freaking hungry right now, and my tell my brain I'm hungry because I know I can push past this, I'm not really hungry. So if you're not there yet, you're not on that level of awareness to know and to be strong enough to fight the different wills that come our way and the different compelling dwellings, you know. So this is what I work on. I work on, how do you know that's not your ego, or how do you know that's your ego, or how do you know that's love? What if that's not true love, right? Like we work on that. So once you discover all that, okay, once you do the work and you get yourself to a higher place in life, you can start to now command and demand higher of yourself and putting yourself in front of source energy and asking for it by sending a signal. And when you send a signal, it's like cutting cords. When there's a cord bonded connected from you to another person, you can use that analogy, but it's sending a signal. So when you send a signal out to source, it's almost like you visualized it all, your creation, and then you send it out to source, and then you wait for it to be received. And when it's received, then you will know, because then there'll be a signal. There'll be a signal, and you'll be like, that's the signal. Like only you might understand what I'm talking about, but people, to understand when it's been received, there's a knowing that an angel or God touched your signal, like that connection happened. So when that happen, then you can come out of it. And the key is when you come out of it with a knowing and a trust and a belief, but then you have to work on then letting go to control expectations, and then detach. So then there's a whole other steps and work you have to do. And then you just live your life. And then it's going to come, it's going to happen, because you created that reality. You just have to now walk into it. Don't just sit down. Like, and also another thing is, when I say take action, sometimes you don't have to you don't have to take action. There's a different type of action that I'm going to talk about here. The action I'm talking about is, you have to be in alignment with what you asked for or what you want. So whether you're at home on the computer and you're watching videos or podcasts to do with that, that's action. Or if you want to go get that job, then you go and you apply for similar like jobs. That's taking action, right? Not people take it different when leaders around the world say you can't just sit on your ass, you got to take action. And then people be like, oh, so I got to go out there in the world and take action to that. And I'm saying, no, you don't have to. Like, you didn't have to go and book a ticket and go travel, search at travel agencies to get to that location. Like, you could it just came, right? Just like you can and you can't. So there's certain ways to do manifestation techniques. Like, when I went to Hollywood and I manifested, I was right beside WB, the whole WB studio, and I got to see everything and experience that feeling with my children and stuff, and then work with actors in Hollywood and have my son be coached with actors and actresses, from Hollywood and big movies and stuff like that. It was the work I did before he was born, right? So start doing it now. If you're about to have a baby, or you have a baby, or baby's still in your tummy, or the baby's already born and you're just thinking of working for yourself and doing entrepreneurial work, or mediumship work, or you're just elevating yourself, I kid you not, make sure you don't dismiss your children, because they are so advanced as spiritual beings now. You're allowing them to slowly get tainted if you're not bringing them into your world now with this growth, this personal growth journey, this whole mindset, talking like we're talking right now, weird, right? Like, people will be like, this is weird talk, but do this now. Do it now. Don't wait till your kid's old enough. Don't say he's just 4 years old. We got to keep with his age and his mindset. That is bullshit. Another thing I want to talk about manifestation with children is, a lot of programs and paradigms, people believe if your child is a certain age, then you got to talk to them a certain way. You got to buy them certain foods. You got to make sure they're at a certain age before you can give them formula or milk or food or this. You got to go to the toy store and stick to the age recommended items. That's all bullshit. That's all lies. That's all programs and the way the system has worked itself out, but you don't have to stick to that. So what I did was, I'm like, okay, if my kid's 1 month old, let's get a 1-year-old toy. Or if they say, well, he has to be at this certain age level and certain body type and certain stomach, like when they digest food, to have this, I went against it. I'm like, I use myself as a test, as a guinea pig, and I use my family as a test and a trial as a guinea pig. But it's not a bad test. Not like, let's go test this rope, this bungee rope. Let's be the first to test this bungee rope. Not that, but something you can have control over, right? Something you can monitor, right? Not risk-taking, life-threatening things. People get it wrong. If you do this and then one of your neighbors finds out, they'll report you to child welfare. That's how crooked parts of the world and mindsets are. And you got to raise your vibration past the knowing. And people want to know, how do you attract and manifest when life, what you're just saying right now, Malcolm? I do have a neighbor like that, and my husband's just like, oh, or my wife is just like, oh, and I'm doing the work and I'm trying to get here, and well, you can manifest your dynamic, the harmony of your family too. That's also another manifestation technique. Everything is about manifestation. You are a manifest. You are a manifest. We
Ooh,
are.
this
Right?
brings me to a question. So assuming we all have we all have free will, we're all individual souls in human bodies. I would love to kind of have you touch on or talk about the topic of, because often people will manifest relationships, but not only relationships, better relationships, for example. Well, my spouse is great, but this person is cranky or moody or whatever and snaps at me all the time.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people talk about manifesting how to get your partner to not fall in line, which I don't mean the way it sounds.
No,
I
no,
don't,
true.
yeah, I don't mean that I'm forcing you
No,
to be
no.
better, but how does that work? Because I've understood it as sort of like you are shifting your attention to a reality in
Yeah.
which your partner behaves optimally
And listen,
according to you.
manifest takes work and effort. It takes time for the universe to bring it. So don't you think the universe deserves your effort and time just as much equally? So when you're about to manifest something, yeah, you're creating your reality that you want, but not just by sitting around, moping around and dwelling on it. Dwell on the positive, right? So yeah, so I've done the same thing. We're talking about relationships, manifesting what you think you want, you might manifest exactly what you wanted as a test,
Yeah.
right? And it'll be a test to see if you are gonna be like, oh, ungrateful, or work hard enough to make that the one, right? Or there's so many ways. You just have to be specific, but let me answer this specific
Yeah.
question you first asked. So
Yeah. How it involves how you can
yes.
manifest when it comes to other people.
So if you have a partner and they're not on the same spectrum as you, and you the wavelength is off, and you guys are bumping heads, and you just want a more harmonious relationship, then what you can do is positively manipulate and positively persuade the dynamic in the home. So, for example, hypnosis meditations are great. Just find good world renowned ones, like really millions, over 10 million, or with the views and the subscribers as well. So you know that their software, it's just a legit, and manipulate, utilize that for frequencies and subliminal messaging, affirmations, or guided meditation hypnosis, and play it in your home. Play the frequency, play the energy, put it in the room while you're sleeping, and adapt to the volume, and let it enter the subconscious mind of your husband or your wife, and just let it just penetrate and influence, and just happen. And then wake up and have a good feeling for yourself. Don't get deterred by the energy. Then start to research love languages and start to be a guide, be a leader for who you want to change yourself, and the reflection will come back, it will reciprocate. So if you're lacking in an area, if like if your husband or your wife is not showing up in a certain area, that's what I meant by lack, then you step it up and you learn how to receive better, right? So you say, hey honey, I just appreciate you worked so hard, and you still, took off your socks and you put it away. Let's go. I love you. And then he'll do more. Maybe the next day he'll be like, man, my wife does so much. Let me just put the laundry in the laundry, right? And then you'll look around and be like, oh my gosh, like it's working. Like people need guidance. People need that effort. You can't just sit there and dwell and mope around that, oh, my husband's not good enough or my wife's not good enough. You are not good enough because you're quitting, you're giving up. Sometimes a relationship can be mended. Everyone wants to say, oh, if it's broken, you're in an abusive relationship, you have to leave. That's toxic, you have to leave. Yeah, but if it's meant to come back, it can come back reunited even better and stronger. Why don't you go to couples therapy? Why don't you make an effort? Why don't you grow together or separate while you guys have an agreement, an ultimatum that he's going to grow, you're going to grow, and we'll meet one day. Or if not, then it's all good. Leave it up to source. But when you do that, when you trust in source, it will happen. It'll come to you. Things will happen, but you just have to do the work and believe. And I don't want people to think about like belief in such a way that has to be holy. Belief is not about holy and about spirituality and God fearing. And belief is just trust, like have faith in yourself, believe in yourself. You know, when you can believe in what you want, even if it's what you don't want, change it to what you want. Don't say what you don't want, because you're also attracting what you don't want. More of that partner being like that, you're attracting it, right? So I always constantly, I do a whole subconscious reprogramming, restructuring of the mind, rewiring new neurons to the brain. So I do that work first for the first 2, 3 days. So then what I teach can actually help you. So I set you up for success. I don't want people to be like, oh, believe, 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 and affirm, 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 and it's gonna come, it's gonna come. I understand what it takes and what you have to do, and then the feng shui, and then fixing certain things, and the way you talk, the way you communicate. You got to take action too. Like I was helping a woman that wanted to manifest, as well, and I'm not going to go into detail, but what I did was I avoided it, and I said, oh, trust me, it's going to come. Everything you want is right there. The doors are there waiting to be open. You're holding the master key, you just don't know how to use it. But she's like, but Malcolm, like, just teach me how to. I'm like, I'm just relax, just
Wax
wait.
on, wax off.
Yeah, let's take it backwards. And it had to do with a family dynamic. Once we released and taught her what to be uncomfortable with. So you got to remember, you got to be very uncomfortable to the point you get comfortable with that uncomfortability. And then when you fix that dynamic, then the phone call is going to come. The money just came. It's just going to show up. It's just going to come.
Right. And so many there, I wonder how much I believe that there's a huge spiritual component. But I also wonder how much, let me reword this. A
Try
lot
to
of people,
ask me. Just ask me.
yeah, because I
So
want to
you're
give
into it,
and
asking questions.
yeah, well, it's sort of a theory I want to hear about. I want to like
Sure.
explain the theory and hear your thoughts on it. Like there are people that aren't into spirituality. And what I've told people is even if you're not spiritual and you don't believe that if I raise my vibration to meet the universe's high vibration, and therefore the universe wants to give me this, but I have to meet it where it is, which is on a higher vibration. But I also have said that um, it doesn't even have to be spiritual because even just in you end up bettering yourself when you take responsibility for yourself and your own feelings, as you said. If
Mhm.
your partner is being difficult and you if your partner is being difficult and you'd like to manifest them being kinder, well, if you get rid
Writing
of
my
those,
thought out, so
oh
don't
yeah,
mind.
no worries. If you are sort of adjusting your own thoughts and changing your own stories about oh, I'm not worthy of somebody who is loving and kind,
Mhm.
um, then because you have that story, you're going to exude a lower self-confidence and a lower self-esteem. Well, once you tell yourself, when you focus on it, when you turn it back and focus on yourself, and you start to to put self-care first and self-healing first, well, that's automatically energetically going to change the vibration of other people around you just by virtue of suddenly you're responsible for yourself. You love yourself. You care about yourself. That makes other people feel less resentful towards you. So I mean, that's just one example, but I think sometimes it's also just being aware of opportunities as they reveal themselves because you're focusing on a goal. So you're focusing on, I want $1 million. Well, um, even if you're not spiritual, you can look at it as, I want $1 million. And so I'm more, because I'm focusing on that every day, I'm open to opportunities that could lead to receiving that $1 million. I think it's sort of opening yourself up, whether you're a spiritual person or not, can only really be beneficial.
Okay. So
So just thoughts. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of just
yeah,
having
yeah,
you
yeah.
riff on this.
No, you're giving me topics to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I want to say is the second thing I wrote down first. So what I want everyone to know is you are the awareness, okay? And we are conscious of our conscious thoughts and feelings. So if we are the awareness, right now we're separate, right? We're separate from our conscious thoughts, right? We're more powerful. Okay. Now we have to understand that we're awareness. We're aware that we're starting to have a thought. We're starting to have a feeling. So that means we are the awareness. We're not the feelings and the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings around us. So now what I want you guys to do is understand, okay, that if you are the awareness, right before the feeling starts to come up and becomes a conscious thought, to you right away, you shut it up. Right away with your awareness, you go there. It's like we have this angel and we have this devil, right? We have this angel, we have this devil side of us. And I'm not saying devil in a bad way. I'm just saying, say we have this person that's fighting so hard, but it just kind of gets into the bad stuff and believes in the uncomfortability or and gets comfortable because it wants to be comfortable and then feels the feelings and emotions. I'm saying that's not you. So take your awareness now and go to that feeling, and before it comes all the way up and penetrates outwards, stop it in its tracks over and over. Stop it right away. Become really good and cognizant of, I'm the awareness. I'm mindful. I'm present. I'm mindful. I'm present. I'm starting to feel like something because someone's outside and I don't know if they should be there. And okay, that's my thoughts, but I'm the awareness. Okay, don't get into negative thoughts. Turn it around. Turn your thoughts, reprogram your subconscious mind yourself. Reprogram, rewire it, and say the opposite of what was about to come up. But you have to take control of the fact that you're the awareness. You are not the conscious thoughts here. That's coming from the subconscious, right? It's coming from the programs, the feelings, the emotions. You're the awareness, you're spiritual. So don't taint your spirit anymore. And then secondly, we got to embrace being and understanding that we're in a parallel with negativity, right? So once we come to terms with our awareness, and then we understand there's negativity around us, anxiety, depression, PTSD, stress, overwhelming thoughts and feelings, kids running around, but we are the awareness. We can embrace being in parallel. We can be in sync with negative energy. So we can use and leverage negative energy. A lot of people are now tapping into it. If I were to make the statement 10 years ago, it would be true to say 99% of the universe is negative energy and we don't know, we haven't tapped into it, we don't know what it is. Well, we do know now. And I'll tell you, negative energy is just as powerful, if not actually 10 to 20 times more powerful than positivity. So if that's the case, why aren't we leveraging it and using it? If we let the negative thought come and take over us, we got to do 20 times the effort to rewire that one negative. One negative is 10 to 20 times more powerful than positivity. So we got to reprogram all of our paradigms and subconscious mind that much more habitually every day. And we can use negative energy for positivity. For example, if you're going through a frustrating time right now, you're going through a breakup. Like in the past, I was going through a breakup and I was in sales and I had quotas and targets and I was given, hey, Malcolm, 100 calls, get that done, end of your shift. And everybody had to get through the 100 calls. And I'm like going through it, whizzing through it like everybody else. And I'm like, hold on, I'm doing this because I'm stressed. This is not me. I'm the type of person that takes my time and gets in sync and intuitive with my clients. And so I'm like, why am I being stressed right now? I understand how I feel. Okay, so you have to acknowledge, understand, appreciate, and then respect your ego mind. Once you do that, then you say, okay, because your ego is being neglected each and every day. Your emotional side, your ego is being neglected. We're always dismissing it, saying, oh, suppress it, let it go, get over it. Let's just go. And then it builds up, builds up, builds up. It doesn't get taken care of and heard and felt. So when we want to hear and feel our ego mind, then we ask ourselves, how do you feel right now? right? Then it responds back. Well, I'm angry, I'm pissed off, I'm stressed a little bit. Then your spiritual side says, okay, I understand. In sequence with the ego mind, and spirit understands, and your ego understands, and I acknowledge and I respect. But does it serve me? No, and I let it go. When you do that kind of work for yourself, it helps. So then what you can do is then leverage that negative energy, right? What do you call it? Transmutation, sexual, what is that word?
Not transmutation,
Yeah,
transmutation or
yeah,
transmuting.
transmutation
Okay.
energy, right? So there's another topic on sex, but I'm just going to talk about transforming the negative energy. So what I did was I was getting no sales, and I took my separation energy. I took that energy and I transformed it into service, into love, and raising my standards and that power and that energy. And I put it into my sales, and I got the top sales without, at the end of my shift, going through the 100 calls. I only went through 25.
Yeah.
Had the top sales in the whole floor.
That's amazing. And actually, this is a testimonial for you as well. 'Cause you and I spoke the other day, had a long chat. It was supposed to be, I had on my calendar brief chat, and it ended up being like an hour and a half, but which was great for me. And after we spoke, you kind of inspired me. Well, not kind of, you did inspire me. And I found myself thinking a little bit differently. So today, one of my clients was like, can you call me? I'm a voice actor, calls me. He's like, can you call me? Because I had turned in a file. He's like,
Right.
so he goes, I haven't worked with you in a few years, and your voice, you just don't have the same sound or energy. And I said, yeah, I had a vocal disorder, and like I can't do that, but I actually thought my read was better. He's like, it's just not really what I expected. And do you think you can still do it? So I start spiraling. I'm like, yep, see, no one wants, because it's been like the biggest voiceover dearth. I used to make six figures doing it, and now it's like there's just nothing happening. So I start to spiral. I'm like, it's because my voice, I should just give up. It's like my voice isn't what it used to be. It'll never be the same. I can't do it. And now my clients aren't happy. And he's even asking me if I can pull this off. Well, I suddenly went, all right, freeze frame. No. First of all, you're just not going to go there. I was about to text my friend and go, this happened and it's all over. And I said, no, you're not going to put that energy out there. And I said, I'm taking that back, and I'm saying, nope. You were tired last week. You had a migraine. You weren't feeling great. You can do this. You can do this. So anyway, I turned it in. And he had given me some feedback, but then it turned it in and he loved it. He's like, there she is. Right. So I'm like, so I was like, okay, it was literally, I was just having a migraine that day and I didn't sound good. It had nothing to do with my voice. Nobody likes my voice anymore. I shouldn't work in this business anymore. And so then later on, I realized I have been asking spirit when I manifest, when I pray, show me what to do to get my voiceover back. Why am I not getting as many short lists? Why am I not getting callbacks? Why am I not? I used to be like top of the heap, always booking, and now it's not happening. Why? And I realized, oh, today I took his comment as this means I can't do voiceover. I'm like, no, it was spirit showing me through him. Actually, this is what was lacking. It's not your voice. You just have lost that spark that you used to have when I was confident and not scared because I had a voice.
Right.
And so I realized as soon as I gave him my energy and my energetic read, he's like, I love it. She's back. And I realized that was actually a gift. It wasn't him telling me I'm not good anymore and I should just give up. It was him telling me what I need to do to start booking more is to bring that spark back of before you had your vocal disorder, and just be happy and confident about how you're performing because it's back. You don't have to live in that old story of my voice doesn't work. So
Yes.
I took that from you and realized I just totally reframed it. I'm like, I'm not giving it more energy now. I'm starting to spiral and I will not go down the story. And I changed the story and realized his comment came to me as a gift. And it was because now going forward, now I know what to do and I'm going to book a lot, that kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, that's
So
good for you.
thank you. And it just kind of, so it is a lot about observing your thoughts,
Right.
catching yourself, and reframing. I think that's
So
simplified, but
I can give some
yeah.
help here. So we're all observers. We're students of life. We're noticing all the time. But what we do in the physical realm is we take all of it, the restraint, the force, the energy, and we're containing it. We're not releasing it. We're not being mindful. We're not being thoughtful of it. So another practice you can do to add on top of the whole understanding, you're the awareness, you're not the thoughts, and then the understanding, the acknowledgement, like those, I gave 3 different exercises. I hope people picked up on it. But another one is on a daily affirmations, but not the affirmations you think, not like, oh, I am this, I am that, and I'm so great because I go outside and I exude this type of energy. That's after. What I'm saying to do is the affirmations you need is by writing down or extracting all of the toxic and negative thought patterns you have. Be honest with yourself and direct with yourself and bring out the fraudulence and say, yeah, I do, like, get mad when somebody drives fast or tries to cut me off. And I do look at them and despise them. There you go. That's an affirmation. Hold on. We're going to convert it, right? And then you say, what else do I do? What I'm going to admit and accept and surrender right now. Sometimes I'm a bitch. I'm an asshole. Okay. That's that. We're going to fix that. Okay. And then another one is, I get unappreciative when, I don't eat food. I get hangry, or if food is not cooked a certain way. Like, I'm talking about all the little things, characteristics, and the traits and the tendencies that you have. So for everybody listening, take that, let's extract that and write it all down, because I do it live. I do it for people, and then we do it together, and then I help fix all that. But for people that just want to do this, take all of that, write it down for yourself, and then rewrite on another piece of paper an opposite reaffirming affirmation to do with that. And walk around on a daily, just affirming your own affirmations. From here, when you get up, go get water. When you go to the washroom, while you're sitting down, actually pooping, like do your specific affirmation. While you're showering, while you're cleansing, while you're driving, and there are crazy people in traffic, you're just constantly aware and being present and mindful, and you're doing your aha affirmations. So you do that, right? And also, speaking about water, water, we wouldn't be alive without water, and water grows everything. So why aren't we blessing our water when we plant our trees? Why aren't we blessing our water when we drink it? Why aren't we thanking our water before we drink it, right? Why aren't we saying what we want in that energy, in those molecules, before it enters our body? While we shower, while we're cleansing, why aren't we meditating while we're showering, right? These are all little tidbits and golden nuggets for people to do on a daily basis, right? Like, do the work, and you'll see that you can do more and you'll attract more. It's just by taking care of yourself, not just always self-love, 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 because a lot of women who do a lot of self-love, self-love, they're very emotional, and they self-sabotage themselves when something goes wrong, or in their relationship. When something doesn't go wrong, they get fed up, they give up. It's because they're suppressing everything with self-love, self-love. I'm good enough. I'm good enough. And I know it hurts. And trust me, I have a lot of women that come and work with me and want my services. So they understand that I'm all love. I'm not condemning, crucifying, judging any woman out there. But what I'm saying is, just try to understand that if you don't do all the work over and over and over, self-love is not going to be enough, because what you're doing is you're suppressing and you're putting a mask in front of everything, and you're putting on a facade, and that is true fraudulence. That's actual fraudulence. So when you look at yourself in the mirror and you want to look past that, and you say, then you'll start weeping and crying and frowning upon. You'll be like, man, I'm trying to be so strong, but I'm still mad at this, and this is still affecting me. So nothing really worked. The work, the exercise you think you're doing with self love is not really working. Otherwise, these tendencies and traits would be gone. So the way to help yourself is just by adding another perspective, is face the fraudulence at face value first, and then deal with the fraudulence work first, the self-identity, the self-character, the body image work. Do all of that work first, and then you can start loving what you truly want to be. And then it identifies itself as a new character trait, a new personality, a new personal reality, and you can quantify your experience much better. Okay.
That's great stuff. And I also would love to know from a spiritual perspective, why is it that all of this works? That's my question.
Because we are innate, we're divine, we're spiritual beings that have been tainted because of our downfalls and because of us. We are at fault. And if we point figures outside of ourselves and we allow outside circumstances to dictate how we feel inside and we play the victim, then we're just characterizing ourselves even more at a deep molecular level, and everything is vibrating and conscious. Everything is spirit, right? So if we are manipulating and affecting our spirit in a negative way, then everything is spirit, right? Our body is spirit, right? Our temple is spirit. We are spirit, right? It's not just like we are all the inside, outside, our aura, energies, sources all around us. Everything is source. But like, if we know we're not eating well, we're tainting our spirit in one way or another. If we know our mindset is off one way, then we're tainting our spirit one way or another, right? So that's why it works, is because we're dealing with everything on a mind, body, spirit connection, right? And then it becomes more powerful and more enhanced, and it helps better. And that's why it works. And you know, people who say, well, I've been doing this for years, I've been a psychic, or not even a psychic. Forget about the beautiful psychics out there. Let's talk about coaches and mentors and gurus and manifestors and just moms and dads and people and in general. When people in general say, I've been at this for years and I've studied and I've researched and I've read this book, I've watched this documentary, this, and then they finally come out with the truth and say, but something's off, something's not working, and I don't know what it is, and I finally need help, and I'm there. Well, this is what it is. It's because of all of the other things that you've been neglecting. What kind of person would you be if you died and your spirit flashed your whole life before your eyes, and then you got the answers, and then you said, I coulda, woulda, shoulda? But it's too late. What if you're a vegetable? I was blessed enough to have that death experience and die, to come back, make a decision into my body, recover and heal, and rewrite the karmas and cycles and the patterns. So you got to, before dying, is rewrite your karmas, your cycles, your patterns, whatever it may be, everything. And that's true spiritual alignment.
That's very well said. I think I also would love to just kind of talk a little bit about something that you and I spoke about, which is that sometimes it's that whole adage of be careful what you wish for. So you can, as you said earlier, we can manifest things and but not do it quote unquote right. And the example I gave you was I had a crush from afar on a musician for years and I listened to his album, didn't know him, saw him online, and I always said if only he knew me, we would be together. I know we'd be together. I just know it. And he had a girlfriend at the time. I was married. There was no reason to believe that I could have this person. Anyway, as soon as I get divorced, I run into him at a music club and he's like, "Oh, I just broke up with my girlfriend and I have to know you." Well, what I didn't know is that's a big red flag for someone to immediately say, you know, I need to be with you when they've literally just laid eyes on you. But in my mind, I went, oh, it's happening. I manifested him. He was meant to be with me. And ultimately, what happened is we were together. He did, quote unquote, fall in love with me. But then I found out that he also fell in love with 30 other women that he was seeing at the same time. And I didn't manifest the part about loyalty,
Yeah,
monogamy. And so I'd love to hear you talk more about that. Because, and in the end, I want to say too, it was one of the best learning experiences. And I got
absolutely.
a best friend out of it, one of his other girlfriends, who's still one
Yes.
of my besties. But I would love to hear your thoughts on that
I'm proud of you that you
specificity.
didn't mope and dwell about it and you see good come out of it. So that's good. A lot of people don't do that though. Okay, so Source chuckles, Source loves you so much. So when I say Source loves you so much, is you'll get whatever you ask for, negative or positive. And then when I say Source will chuckle, because your spirit knows you better, and that is Source as well. You're one with Source. So Source can chuckle, give you a test, and be like, let's find out. Right. And so it's a catch 22. Right. So there's always a test. There's always a positive and a negative and duality. We got to understand. So when you're attracting that test and something comes up, your Source is testing you. What are you going to do to endeavor through this, to grieve through past this and to grow past this? Are you going to change and get better? Are you going to find a way to change the relationship dynamic to get him help and put him on a spiritual path and get to where you want it to be? Or are you going to use this as a test and be like, okay, it's all good. I got a best friend out of it. Now let me get the next one. And then it'll be another test. You're never going to have it perfect. It's always going to be another test. So you could have had that one and tested through the trials and errors, or you're just going to get another relationship and get another test. It's not going to be exactly how you want it. It's always growth in life and relationships with children and everything is always endeavoring. It's always growing. It's always changing. It's always shifting. You're not going to have one thing and be like, I have the perfect life. No, no one has that unless you are putting in the time and effort and the work and the patience and the love and you're doing it all. Then you could have made it work. And then you could turn around and be like, I did manifest my dream guy. Yes, there was some hiccups and curveballs, but that's what comes with life. That's what life is all about.
He leaves his socks on the floor, but he's at wonderful other, we forget
Yeah.
when we're manifesting these things, they're still going to be human, whether it's a person or a situation. Yeah. You could get that dream guy and suddenly that dream guy is your husband and you've got 3 kids and, you love him, but he's just a person, then he
Notice the
becomes a person.
tendencies. Notice the tendencies. You can notice the traits when you enter a relationship. If you see it from afar, if you're intuitive in advance and you notice what the ifs, ands, and buts could have been, then what you can do is hone in on it in advance and quantify the experience. You don't have to go through the experience further. You take the experience, say, okay, God, I know what this is. I just got this, and this is what I'm noticing. Am I gonna stick it out or am I gonna leave? I want to stick it out because I asked of you and you provided. And I think I can make this work. So what I'm gonna do is book a counseling or talk to him and be like, listen, I love you. I think this is we're meant to be. Are you on the same wavelength? If I asked you to take coaching with me, would you take coaching with me? If he says, no, we're good, then clearly he's not on the same path and journey. Then God will bless you with someone better, right? But if you take that test and be like, fuck, I never, like, this guy was an idiot and now I have to go, don't dwell after the experience.
Yeah.
Thank the experience, appreciate the experience. Thank you, God, for that failure. Thank you. I broke my collarbone. I broke my collarbone. I want to show people because I always talk about him. People are like, oh, what? He said he broke here and I don't know what broke. Well, you're going to see some hair, but you see
I did the bump right there. There's a big, for those of you who are not watching or are visually impaired, there is a large lump that is bigger than a collarbone.
so see how it's broken.
It's
That's
broken in the middle. It looks like a cleft. is
Yeah.
what I would call it.
And now see here,
It
nothing.
doesn't look crazy, but it's just like you can tell there's a little bit of something different. Yeah, that's smooth on this side.
Yeah.
And on that
So
side, there's a little cleft in the middle of your collarbone.
okay, so I had bookings and Hollywood Circle manifestation techniques. I was doing visualization, guided visualizations for a awards ceremony for a platform that has over 80,000 followers on a Hollywood Circle. And this happened to me. And I showed up because it's all to do with manifesting. If I lay down in bed while I have COVID or while I have a broken bone, and you are defeating yourself, you're like, oh, this is gonna be 14 days, and oh my God, and I did the test, and yeah, it happened, I have it, and you're affirming it, and you're like, oh, you know, don't do that. So I didn't do that. I got up and I just said, fuck, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Get your ass out of bed and show love. Thank you, God. I broke my collarbone. There's a reason. Now I'm going to heal it. I'm going to take care of this. I love you. I'm not giving up, God. I'm not giving up. Because God challenges us to see, are you going to give up? Are you going to lose faith? Are you going to swear? Are you going to be like, oh my God, my daughter did this to me? Everything is a test, right? So I am aware and I just said, thank you. You know, I'm going to heal this. I'm not going to go for surgery. I'm going to get up. I'm not going to cancel any of my bookings. I'm going to still show up for all my clients. I'm still going to show up for the Hollywood Circle. And I did. And no matter how much pain I was in, I endured the grievance. I went through the pain and I did it anyways. And not only that it healed better and properly, and I didn't ever have to go back and they didn't have to do any surgery or anything, but I showed up for people. That shows source that I'm willing and I'm deserving. You know, you got to show, are you willing, are you deserving to get better? Or are you going to lay in bed and just let the doctor tell you what you're not? You know, let the diagnosis be the diagnosis. So this is a lot of other things that I have two bolts in I fractured my tibia. I collapsed my lung. I mentioned it, but I think in the last video, but it's not about me. It's about you guys. It's about people. I'm here to say, don't wait till you have to die to realize, or don't wait for more experiences and grievances and endeavors and failures and mistakes. You know, if you can see the duality and if you can see the consequence and the learning in the midst of adversity, if you have that awareness, what are you willing to do with your awareness? Right? A lot of people give in and say, this is real. Like, I just broke my collarbone. If it was any other person and they were talking to me, they'd be like, what are you talking about? I broke it, like it hurts. And come on, man, the doctor said 12 weeks. Like, you're missing the point. You got to let go of the belief and trust in the unknown. That's what it is.
That's the hardest part of it, I think. And that I find that when I'm able to do it, and sometimes actually I'm not. And I was going to share as sort of to demonstrate that there was a time where I couldn't pay my rent. I had zero money. I was in debt, maxed out credit cards, just couldn't pay the rent. So I went and I was in a panic and I went to a 12-step meeting and someone there said, listen, just put your worries, write them all down and put them in a box and then just give it up to God. And I went, yeah, right. Like that's going to work. You know, in my mind, even being resistant, I said to myself, that's never going to work, but I am so desperate. I went down, wrote everything down. I don't know how this is going to happen. But I don't know what to do. So I just put it up and I'm like, I need money. Well, that week, long story short, I ended up getting a call from someone who got me a job at a casting agency. And while I was there, I got seen for a commercial and booked a national commercial the same week I was there and ended up getting $20,000 out of the sky. And I didn't even really do anything. It all just happened. And then last year or so, I wrote down, um, I received this amount of money, and it was a large amount of money from an unexpected source. I live on the East Coast. I have my voice back. no idea how any of these things were going to happen. I was in a relationship out there. Anyway, I moved here and I recently opened up the box where I wrote all the scraps. I have this much money. I live here, and I opened each one and they had all happened,
Mm.
including the amount of money that was like this crazy amount of money that I wouldn't have ever imagined I could. I said it gets it from an unexpected source. Well, a family member passed away, and I that wasn't how I wanted to get it, but I didn't expect it and it came. So then I looked in my backyard. I'm like, I wrote down, I have woods and a creek in my backyard. There they are. I live on the East Coast. I have my voice back. I'm doing voiceover again. I have a podcast. Like all these things I wrote down.
Yes.
I mean, some of them I succeeded in because I just did it. But on the other hand, how did I manifest the exact, also, let me just say, the exact amount of money to the, I wrote down and I wrote myself a fake check, put it up on the wall, wrote it over and over. I received a check for that amount, like to the number, the number. And that's how does, I mean, say anything you want about that.
So if you let go, did you do the let go part?
I must have, because I was surprised to even
Yeah.
find the,
So
yeah,
let's talk about money then. So, for example, you set an expectation, you raised your standards, you did the work, and then you let go and you surrendered, right? So it's not about the money. When it comes to harmony and balance, if you can feel, so true wealth and true happiness doesn't come from an outside source. You're always gonna want the next thing, right? So when you want money, when you are trying to attract money, you don't chase money.
yeah,
Okay. You don't chase money because you're chasing it further and further away from you. You attract the money by surrendering, letting go, and having the faith and trust that you deserve it already. It's going to happen. That's your birthright. Like that's what you want. That's what's going to come. Your thoughts are on it. You're dwelling on it, but you let it go and you surrender and you detach. But you have to live in harmony, continue doing your work, your inside work, your inner work, service to others. And then you have to have that balance, that peace. You can, and then when you do that, that's true happiness. When you can obtain fulfillment before the riches, then you're truly rich and truly wealthy. Because if money doesn't make you happy, money can buy you things to get you temporary happiness, but it doesn't make you happy. If you're already unhappy and you have a brand new car, you're going to take that unhappiness into that car. You're going to take those tendencies and those habitual traits into that car. The car is just glam now. Yeah, it shows shine, shimmer, and shine, but deep down inside, you're not changed, right? So the reason how it works is because you're elevating yourself, right? You got to raise your standards, you got to believe, you got to feel good, and you got to do the work. Then God, source, universe will give you what you deserve to the T, or if not better, or a little under. It doesn't matter, but you got to remember, always be grateful, always be appreciative of where you are. And that's all of these little things we're talking about is what we have to do in sequence. This is synchronicity, right? When we're doing it all the things in our life, we're in alignment, then we start to see the angel numbers and synchronicities start to happen. And then the alignments, and then the check goes writing down, and then I get the exact number. How many times does that happen to me? All the time. How many times does it happen? I can give so many examples, but people who aren't doing the work, it'll come across as boasting. And I don't boast. I don't like to say like what I've done and all this kind of stuff. I mean, if people are interested, they can ask or they can go and check and see whatever, right? But I don't want to have to say it, but it works. It just works because we're children of source. We're have to bring that compassion, that unconditional love, and remind ourselves every day to be in harmony. Another thing is also taking some of the old, if anybody has like things, tendencies to hold on to clothes and belongings for years, and come to realize, like, come on, we're gonna die, and that's not gonna go anywhere. Like, who's really gonna want a spiritual sofa, like, you know, like your sofa? Nobody, right? Like any extra stuff, get the willpower to package it up, not in gift wrap or anything, just like get it ready. You know, there's women in need, there's shelters, homeless shelters, there's food banks, and set it up. Like, there's might be a garbage bag of teddy bears, garbage bag of jackets, dresses, pants, socks, CDs, DVDs, VHS. And don't just always ask for, oh, this is worth $5, so I'm going to get $5. Don't always sell it. Give it out of your heart with the knowing someone else deserves it, and that's going to reciprocate more energy back to you. So it's almost like you're being selfless, but selfish at the same time, because it's not a bad thing as long as you do it from the heart, not out of greed, but you do it with the love intention to start with, you know, and then live without the expectation, oh, well, I did that, I'm waiting, when is it? No, just do it out of love. And that's what you can do. That's what I do. And I've cleared my space. I've made space. I've got rid of garbage bags of clothes that I thought that I love so much and so expensive. Just because I'm not at that body weight anymore, I might fit into it. Let that go. That might be a trait. So start to look at all of your traits in life and challenge yourself. Even go into your pantry and be like, oh, I love those granolas. But look at the ingredients and then go and compare a better one, and let it go. Practice letting it go and surrendering. And if you can practice that, I'll tell you right now that this is going to make way for more abundance and true happiness and true wealth and prosperity in your life. If you can live prosperous now before your coming attractions, then it's all the better when it comes. It's never going to be an expectation or not enough. It's going to be a blessing, and you're going to be humble when you receive.
I can attest to that. Just even when you said it, I went, oh, that must have been the magic formula. Was this last year, I was in such a great place, and I was focused on yoga, meditation. I was barely working and earning, but I was able to just get very centered and really spend every day in kind of a spiritual practice because of COVID. I wasn't obsessing, but that's just what there was to do. And I was letting go, and it all, and I kept asking, please let this be possible. Please show me the way. And it all opened up like the sea, like the parting of the seas. And it's also that ease in flow. It's not swimming
Yes.
upstream, it's the
No.
flow, it's going with it. And
Yes.
even just when something happens that isn't what you wanted or desired, going, this is just part of the, all right, this is just a diversion. I'm not going to dwell on it and cry. I mean, you're allowed to cry, but
Having
I
a
was,
gratitude attitude consistent.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like going, sorry, if you didn't finish, I
Oh, no,
apologize.
that's okay. I was just going to say that when it's not working out, now I can see it as, oh, but it's because there's something else in store. I get it. I'm being redirected, and spirit has my back. So I just know this wasn't meant for me and
Yeah.
moving. So go on, because
With
I'd love
that,
to hear what you have to
it's
say.
exactly what you're saying, and so true to surrendering and ease and flowing and letting things come, and not looking at what didn't happen the way you expected it, and challenging yourself to be like, ease and peace, and it's okay. If you look at what didn't happen for too long, then that's the test. So for an example, say you're going to the shopping center and it's full, and you want that parking spot right at shotgun, like, so you can just walk in and, you know, everything's easy peasy. But then you're driving down there and someone takes it, or it's full, or it's completely jam packed. And if you start dwelling like, okay, I'm looking around, I got to go there, and you start looking for open spaces there, that's what you're manifesting. That's what's going to happen. It's going to close off. The door is going to close. You're not going to get it. So pause for a minute, slow down, and still maintain that belief. You know what? Same thing happened to me. And someone was in the car with the car not started. I stopped. I did that for a moment, and I waited. I'm like, no, this, and I was 4 cars before I was gonna leave the parking lot. I was 4 cars. It was handicapped, and then 1, 2, 3, and I was driving, and the person beside handicap started the car, pulled out with ease, and I relaxed. I had my signal on so no one else would take it. And I go in there with ease. So you also have to do things with ease. And that's also a testament. It's like it'll show up, but what you're coming in the way. We are in the way. We need to, you don't mind if I swear?
You already have, and I don't mind.
Okay.
It's too
No,
late
because
now.
this one's gonna be direct. We need to get the fuck out of the way. We need to get the fuck out of the way. We're too much in the way. We're in the way of our coming attractions. We're in the way of the doors being open. We're in the way of someone hiring us. You know, I work with this one lady. She's trying to desperately get a job, and she was doing her interview and she was not getting the job. She was not getting the job. And they were pointing out, and I'm like, can you walk me through your interview? Can you, she's like, I'm like, let's role play exactly what happened. And I caught it. I'm like, who's going to hire you talking about you being a mother and the failures and how good you think you are? I said, you got to positively persuade yourself. Would you hire someone coming and you're seeing them from afar talking like this from a company's point of view? She's like, that's so true. Yeah, no, I wouldn't hire me. And I'm like, it's just your body language. It's just your tonality and your dialogue. I'm like, thank you so much for telling me and being transparent with how you went for those interviews. But you see what you're doing wrong? She got a job a week later.
It's incredible.
Yeah, but it's not always just like the magic or the manifestation. The manifestation and the magic comes when you do the shifting, when you do your own manifesting, transforming energies, and you just come to realize what you could have, should have, and would have done differently or better, right? You realize the consequences in advance. Yeah, so we're in the way. And once we realize that we can be at ease in the midst of pain and suffering, there's another technique. I mean, I can sit here all day and give techniques over and over, but sometimes you can have an outer body experience while being alive. And you can be sitting down in your bonus room or in your family room, and in the midst of pain and suffering, whether it's an argument, whether it's tension, stress, you can actually bring yourself to that ease and get your body to be there, but your soul to come out and to remotely view and just to see how you're feeling and what's happening, and just to visually walk over to the window and just observe and just be like, come back in, look at how you're about to be upset, you're being hurt, you're angry, are you going to blow up? But then come back into that child, come back into that inner child with love, bring a new vibe and a new energy into yourself, and tolerate it differently. Maybe you say, hey, I don't want to talk about this right now. You swallow. Thich Nhat Hanh recently passed, and he says, you take that mud, that anger, and Dr. Wayne Dyer says, when you squeeze an orange juice, you can't change what comes out. What comes out is what's already inside. So when you're squeezed, when your buttons are pushed, what's going to come out is already inside of you. You can't blame the person who's making you upset, who's squeezing you. It's what comes out. So you can change what comes out and take that mud, and that's how you pot it, you soil it, you seed it, and how you grow flowers out of it. Walk away, change the energy, transform the anger into love. And that's not suppressing, that's transforming, right? Transforming. Use the negativity, not to just hold it in, walk away. Turn it into love and understanding and compassion, and talk better. Like, hey, partner, hey, spouse, just listen, can I talk to you about this after? and then walk away and come back a better person. Be proud of yourself. And then you buy yourself a glass of wine or a bottle of wine, be like, I did so good, and relax and be like, like, I'm doing good. Then you can treat yourself, right? Once in a while.
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful place to end since I know we could talk for 5 more hours. But I just want to thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom, insight, tips. There's so much in there that we could, you and I could break apart each little thing, but I really appreciate you sharing
You're
what you
welcome.
have. And I also believe that everything that comes through today is what we need to hear today.
Awesome.
So, yeah. And can you, I'll put your information below, but just tell people, what types of things are you offering? Any events you're participating in, books? Repeat
Sure.
that. Yeah.
So thank you so much, by the way. I really appreciate you. And perfect way to end, I hope. I always want to just think I have more and give more, but we could always do it again if
Yeah.
anyone wants to talk about something else. But I do have a children's book out called Arnav's Affirmations, and it's set up in a way where when you read it, or your child reads it, or you read it to somebody, that it's continuously readjusting the words and the phrases, like I am so great, or I love waking up, or when I see food that is foreign to me, it's reprogramming you while you read it, because it's changing the affirmation. It's not saying food is weird, so then I say I am. No, it's like, when I see food that is different, and then I share, and when I brush my teeth, it's a beautiful, cute book, right?
Is
It's
it Arnoff?
R
A
A R N A
N-A-V. That's how I spelled it, but I wanted to make sure.
Arnav's Affirmations. It's on Amazon, and
Perfect. I'll put the
some
link below there.
I have some t-shirts and some more items coming soon, but I have t-shirts for men and women and children that have the guided intelligence. Just so you guys are aware, we're all guided intelligently. So the mission is, that's what we are. We're guided intelligently. So if you want to have a shirt saying guided intelligence, I have a t-shirt as well on my website, guidedintelligence.me, or even if you put .ca, it'll take you to the website as well. And I have just my services and what I do, and you kind of have an idea of what I do. I'm not just a one-trick pony, and I don't just follow a technique or a method, or traditional or non-traditional. It's just, I just have different sorts of me, and I'll give you that back. I'll just give you that. I'll reciprocate your energy back to you, and we'll transform to get better.
Amazing. And that's guided intelligence dot.
Dot .ca or dot .me.
This guy's Canadian, in case you couldn't tell by the accent. That's why. So it's intelligence, but I'll have it all below. And I know where it is. So again, thank you so much, Malcolm, for being here and for what you do in this world.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and for
I
doing the same
appreciate
thing.
you.
Have a
Thank
blessed one.
you too.